I know all this. And I know all this.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, September 27th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting. Could you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I didn't receive any request for public comment. Jason, you want to handle the warrants?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, I did not arrive with enough time to look through the minutes on the warrants.
What's that again?
I did not arrive with enough time to look through the minutes and the warrants. I had some last-minute agenda items that were coming in. Could we maybe postpone that to the end, just so that I can have like 5 or 10 minutes to go through them?
You want to postpone the approval of warrants until when?
Just the end of the meeting, so I can have like a 5 or 10 minute recess first and then go through them?
Okay,
I do like to look at them.
okay.
Thank you.
And the approval of minutes. Appointments, there's none. Discussion and possible vote. First thing is the town administrator interview, discussion, and comments. Somebody want to start that off? Jason, you want to start that off?
No, I think Kathy wants to start that
Okay.
off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's like we're passing the ball here, huh? You gotta love our board. So, still thinking seriously, still reviewing materials. Selectman McDonald gave us more supplemental materials. I have someone else who looked into the same issue as he did, and we have had our consultant involved in checking the backgrounds of all the candidates. And I thought the consultant was going to be here on Zoom today.
Jason, is he on, do you know? Bernie Lynch?
Oh, there he is. Isn't that him? Is he talking to us? I thought so too.
Can you unmute him?
I don't think he's muted.
We can't hear
I think
you.
it might be on our end.
I think it could be at our end. Should I write it on the back of a page? We can't hear.
Speak now?
Ah, thank you.
Bernie, Kathy might have some questions for you.
Okay, Kathy?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. So, you recall that I did call you to ask you that we had received an internal application for the TA position following our meeting. I'm assuming that's when it came into our email. I'm not quite certain of when the application was put in. I did follow up with both you and with our town councilor to ensure that we follow the proper process for the review and consideration of the application. And we had received a response just literally an hour before this meeting. So I'm sure no members of the board have been able to read through this, to consider it, and I'm wondering if you would like us to forward a copy of this to you as well, since you're
That would be helpful. I will say that it is a, as you and I discussed, the idea of open until filled is generally used as a means of keeping the options of the town open until such time as finalists are presented to the board. It's unusual. So it keeps it open so that the screening committee can have additional candidates if no candidates come forward by the time of a deadline. So, or if the board is not satisfied with the candidates, then it keeps it going so that people who've submitted after the deadline or could still be considered, or if you weren't satisfied with the candidates that were presented, then you could simply instruct us to try to find additional candidates. So that's generally when you use, because this is a public process, that is how you generally use the open until filled.
Yes, I understand, and I advocated for that just because I know this is a really difficult market. And even as we got towards the end, we had applicants dropping out, perhaps getting other jobs or deciding not to further pursue the job. So the opinion of the town attorney, I've just reviewed it quickly once. It seems to be that this application can be considered if we follow the due process. And I will forward to you that opinion so you can also look through it. I think this is literally just arriving at 4:24 p.m. today. So it is very last minute. And I just feel that we have to take a moment here to consider this opinion and to consider that newest application. I'm done. That was all I was going to say. This literally just.
I have a question pertaining to, how did you get the information that there was another applicant? Because it was my understanding that the committee was the ones that were looking over the resumes and the applications, and it was the Board of Selectmen weren't supposed to know who had applied.
I agree, but it's in your email and it's in my email, and I read my email. Wasn't my intention to break a rule. It was in my email. Not the application, just an email that there was an application.
And who did that come from?
It's in your email as well. Why don't you check?
Excuse me?
I said, why don't you check your email? It goes to you as well as me. I
did, and I don't recall seeing that.
I think the other members saw it. Why don't you ask Dan McDonald?
Because
Read
I'm
your
asking
email?
you.
Well, I'm saying, why don't you ask another member? Don't put it all on Selectwoman Castronellis to answer every question. Everybody should be reviewing their
Okay,
email.
all right. I guess you're not going to answer the question.
No, I'm not, because it's in our
Anybody got any
email.
comments? Jason?
Well, it's a tough decision to make just because we have gone through the process up until this point. And I know the candidates that the committee sent to us were absolutely perfect, both of them. I think they're more than capable of doing the job. But I also don't want to leave out any opportunities or miss any opportunities to have another person looked at. So I'm not opposed to sending it back to the committee to evaluate and make a determination if we should consider this additional application.
Comments? Bill?
We could do what Dan said, to jog my memory to something else.
Dan?
We got this far. Was hoping we'd have 3, maybe more candidates. We got 2. One dropped out for personal reasons, so I'm told. On paper, they both appear to be very well qualified. I thought one of them stood out head and shoulders above the other. What came up, and it's a matter of public record, I'm not going to say anything that's not in the public record, but in terms of the search committee, I wish that they had brought to our attention the legal matter pending with one of the candidates. Selectman Watson brought it to our attention. I don't think it should have been us to do the vetting. It should have been screened. But in public record, there is a legal matter pending. I make no assessment, I form no opinion on the merits or the lack of merits within the legal proceeding as it's pending. I am not the trier of fact. It is a serious matter. I've supplemented the information here as it did not percolate up from the search committee, so I sought a copy of the complaint and the docket sheet, and I've provided that to the Board of Selectmen members today for their review. I think in light of the fact that it's impossible to determine the facts of the case, it's not our role here, it's not my role, I think we have no other choice but to pass on that candidate. I think it's obvious, and I don't want to speculate if it went in one way, direction or the other, but unless we had the luxury of knowing the final disposition and the final outcome of the case, merits, lack of merits, I don't think we can form an opinion on it. I think it would be irresponsible for us to proceed down that road not knowing. I don't think we have the luxury to wait to find out. So my position is simply to pass on that candidate under the circumstances. In doing so, that leaves one candidate, which, regardless of the pending legal matter, I felt that he was my candidate of choice, as he's technically proficient. I was impressed by just his answers to the questions. He, the way he analyzed, insurance expense and pros and cons, and we need a guy like that. We need a guy that can roll up his sleeves, do his homework, and present alternatives to the Board of Selectmen so that we can make good decisions. From time to time, I say, good facts make good decisions, bad facts make bad decisions. So we need an information provider of the highest caliber so that we can form intelligent decisions on this board, and I think we have someone. As far as, a late horse in the race, well, why weren't they there first? Why weren't, they, we're, I don't know if we're halfway across the bridge or more, but, there's a lot of time and effort. $6,000 spent on a consultant, a lot of volunteers' time involved, and, I don't know that we should consider someone, late. It was published, it was disclosed, everyone had the opportunity to submit an application timely. If there was a reason why, they were out of the country or some place where they couldn't submit, then I would certainly have an open ear to that. But here we are at a juncture, and I think there's a suitable candidate for the job. If there was any doubt in my mind whether or not, we're just choosing from two and we don't like either one of them for some reason or had some reservations or, we were bottom feeding, then I would certainly entertain more candidates, not just one but several. But I don't, in my observation here, that's not the case at all. I think we have an outstanding candidate, and that's what I hope to, that's the person I hope to vote on this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll take the opportunity. Well, in the effort of full disclosure, I guess since this is a public document, we can read from it a little bit. As I looked over it, there's 3 people mentioned in that pending litigation. Town manager, James Dugan.
Microphone.
Bill, turn your microphone on.
Just move it closer, I think is what he'd like.
The Chief of Police, David Roulette, and obviously the Director of Human Resources, Christine Lindbergh. As you know or may not know, Drake has a strong fire chief as we have here. So a lot of these decisions are taken out of the, much like here, out of the Board of Selectmen and placed squarely with the powers and responsibilities of the fire chief. But reading through it, I noticed that, in all fairness and full disclosure, the town manager, Mr. Dugan, is mentioned 11 times. Mr. Brulette, the chief of fire chief, is mentioned 14 times, and Ms. Lindbergh is mentioned 6 times. But the crux of it is on number 27, and I'll read the quote. The only action that Lindbergh took in relation to the complaint was to disclose to Dugan and Brulette that Mr. George had filed the complaint against them. I'm not sure that...
You missed the last line.
Well, Lindbergh never did any investigation of a complaint, and the town has never released any findings on the complaint. But again, given the fact that it's a strong fire chief, I'm not sure what involvement she could have had or did have. But it certainly, in my mind, does not disqualify her just on the surface. But getting back to both candidates, I found them to be both well-spoken. I found their education to be of equal and relevant education. I found one's experience to be far superior to the other. And I think that's what this town needs, is a lot of experience. So I did disqualify one candidate based on the lack of experience and the lack of dealing with such a small town and with such a small, tight budget. However, with regards to the other candidate, I've always trusted that gut feeling, or sixth sense you might call it. I've always trusted it when it comes down to people. And while I particularly like this candidate's qualifications and education and background and experience, there's just something that tells me it's not a good fit. I don't know what it is. I wish I could put my finger on it, but it just doesn't feel right. And I know I've done this before, and I hate to be the one that throws the, fly into the ointment. But I would really like to cast the line again. I mean, we cast the net, we pulled it in, we saw what it had. In my opinion, I'm not satisfied. I'd rather throw the catch back in and toss the net back in and see if we can do better. We've done this in similar cases, and we have come up with much stronger candidates that are still with us and that we remain extremely happy with. I hate to delay this process because I know how painful it is to so many people, but I don't want to put in somebody right now. I want to put in the right person. So I'm hesitant to support either candidate at this point, and that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else? Jason?
No, I already said my piece, but
Kathy?
Yes. Hi. So first, just on the issue for people watching at home, the issue of lawsuits in the municipal environment. Typically, everybody in the path of that lawsuit gets named, including if you're on a board, if you have passed any of the email, if it went through your office, everybody gets named. It's not a pleasant thing, and it's not something that I think attracts people to municipal work because you get named. And Christine was in the middleman on that, and she's named. And that won't go away until this is settled. True. Couple of things. It is, I think, one of the most difficult job markets we've been in for a while, trying to find employees for our town. And what we do in the case of one position, I believe we should do in the case of another position, to be fair and transparent. So, in the case of the treasurer position, I've been working with Selectman McDonald. We had one candidate that we were interviewing with. We thought this candidate had merit, brought the candidate forward to meet some staff, and that went well. And then an internal application came through, and Dan and I discussed it and determined that an internal application, even late, should be considered. These people work for us. We should give the courtesy of the process to an internal applicant. Why did it take that applicant a month or weeks to decide to apply? I don't know. It's not for me to know what's inside someone's head. It's for me as an elected official of the town to give fair and due process to everyone, in particular our employees, because we know them and they work for us, and I want to be fair. I also want the people of Groveland to know that this position, as with the treasurer position, still remain posted on our website. Applications can still come in. We don't need to start over. We would just need to follow the same due process with each applicant, which is what we've done with the internal application of the treasurer. So I do not see a difference here in putting the new applicant through the same process. And I think town council's been asked some questions. I think Chairman Watson, you asked council whether if we hired someone who was the subject of that type of lawsuit, would the town have to be involved in paying for it? And the answer is no. So that's some good news for that applicant. I asked the question on the internal applicant, being late. Was there anything else we should be concerned about? We just got that opinion today at 4:24 p.m. So I think, in fairness, everybody needs a little time to read through it. I have not even read through it in completion. And the two applicants came to us. They went through the same process that I hope the new applicant will go through. That's fair. I took time out of my time to interview them. They took time out of their day to come to our interview. That's fair. I don't see anything that's unfair or not transparent about what we're doing here and trying to fill positions in this town. So I feel that we shouldn't disqualify anyone right now at this moment in time. We should continue to review the information we have, and we should determine the process under which the new application can be considered, so that due process. It won't take that long, and then we would have possibly 3 candidates to choose from, which is what we've wanted all along. We wanted more choices. So that's where I stand tonight. I think that it would be disingenuous of us to say, on the one hand, we're going to consider the application, the late application, internal application, in the case of the treasurer position, but in the case of the TA position, we're not going to give the same consideration. I think that's not being fair and not being transparent about what we, the Board of Selectmen, are trying to do here. Trying to serve our town, trying to find the best person, the best fit for each position. That's what we're trying to do. Thank you.
The only question that I have is when we set up the committee and the votes, it was somewhere written in there was that nobody that was employed by the town or had been employed by the town in the past within so many months, and I don't recall what that was, how many months that was. that they would be excluded. And if somebody can jog my memory as far as that goes.
Former employees.
Excuse me?
It was former, not current.
Not current?
It was former within the past 3 years. They had left within the past 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it takes care of that. So you want to send this back to the committee to look at another applicant?
Well, what do my board members think? I mean, I know it's very last minute, but everything is fluid. And sometimes, there's a sharp turn in the road, and I just feel that in fairness and transparency, we've done the same, trying to fill the treasurer position, followed the same steps, went back through the process. And Bernie, I think I spoke with him, I'm not sure if it was Thursday night or Friday night, I've been short on time, and asked him, he's still available to us to guide the committee through this and ensure that the same transparent process is followed. It's fair. As long as it's fair and the candidate is forwarded to us for consideration, then yes, I think we should consider it.
Dan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. In terms of the treasurer's search, no candidates were brought before the Board of Selectmen. It was still preliminary. It was still pending in terms of our charge to Kathy and I to have a, look at applicants. So nothing was late. The search committee for the town administrator gave us their two finalists. I would have liked to seen all of the resumes, but as it was explained to me, I wasn't privy to them. I had inquired about, anybody with business experience, anybody who wasn't a graduate or of a certificate program or a master's degree at Suffolk. I'm trying to flush out, certain things. I like to know whether or not there's any, cronyism, nepotism, isms of all kind. That's just the process I go through. I haven't drawn any conclusions on that, but I do ask a lot of questions. I ask pointed questions. I would like to see all of the resumes if we open this up. I'm guarded in what I say here, but it needs to be said. If we go back to the same search committee, I'm disappointed that legal issue was Google searched by Chairman Watson, and that's the only. I'm not disappointed that he did it, but us not knowing about it, I have some reservations about the process within that search committee. That should have been brought to our attention. I questioned the judgment as to why that candidate was not screened out. That's my personal opinion on that. So to send this back to the same committee, to find us a town administrator, I lack confidence. And that comment is not targeted at any and all of the members on the board. Just the final result. Okay? Just the final result. I'm disappointed that was not brought to this board's attention. I should not have to go on public record and have to do the vetting for a committee that was set up to do that for us. So that it would be unbiased, it would be thorough, and I don't think we got that. So do I want to, if we have another search, I want a new committee.
Anybody else? Bill, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think the search committee deserves a tremendous amount of credit bringing forth the candidates they did, given the labor market we have. They're no different than anybody any other employer right now. They're going to cast the net and see what comes in. They don't go into the ocean and pick out the fish. They just reel in the net and see what it caught. So I can't agree with Selectman McDonald's opinions on the search committee. I think they worked hard. They worked diligently. They were all committed to doing the best job they could possibly do, and I think that's what we got, the best job they could possibly do. And given the circumstances, you know, I don't know how we could be disparaging of their time, efforts, and the energy that they put into it. So I just want to say that I kind of disagree with that statement, that's all.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Kathy?
Well, I think it would have been fair to ask Mr. Lynch. I think he told us that they had and were aware of that federal lawsuit, that she was caught in the middle of it and did not feel that it reflected at all on her ability or qualifications for this job. And that's why she was not excluded. It's not because they have blinders on. We had some of the most intelligent department heads and citizens on this committee, along with a qualified expert. And I think that they did a very good job in a very difficult market. And I know that this new application throws a little twist into things, but I think you start splitting hairs when you say, well, if this candidate has been interviewed by the Board of Selectmen, then we can't go back and look at anybody else. We said to the search committee, and I'm going to just paraphrase it, and I recall this specifically, that go on, get going with this job, and as soon as you have 2 or 3 candidates that you'd like us to look at, start sending them up our way. We kept it very open-ended with the search committee. We never set a deadline. We never said, after this date, we will not consider applications. In my opinion, that application, I don't know why I was not advised of it through the proper channels, through the chairman of the board and the administrative coordinator. It came into that inbox. I don't have access to that inbox. I sort of feel that the transparency is lacking here in the flow of information that's coming into the town. I think that as a member of the board, I would like to be kept fully informed. I would like to be allowed to consider all information when I'm being asked to make a decision. And I think any intelligent member of the Board of Selectmen would always ask the same thing. Can I please see the information? I do trust the search committee to do the screening, and it was explained to us, and it made a lot of sense, that at the screening level, the applicants who put their applications in know that it's confidential. Their name will not be released to the public. Their employer or anybody else will not know that they have applied for the job. That's standard procedure. And then the finalist, when you agree to go to that final interview, when your background check is done, then your name is released. So, no, we don't have a right to see information that is not meant to be publicized. Those applicants were not brought forward to the next stage. They did not agree to have their information released.
Jason?
Bernie would like to say something.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear on the issue of the background in the screening committee. While the screening committee did, we discussed Google searches and all the rest. I don't believe we ever actually discussed the lawsuit. As I said when we presented the candidates and this was brought out as a question, we're aware of it. And in our opinion, with regards to the reference or the background check, we did not believe it was disqualifying Community Paradigm with regards to putting a candidate forward. This is, to Kathy's point, this is fairly common for people in positions like this to be named in a lawsuit. It pretty much goes with the territory. I wouldn't be shocked to hear that many of you, or some of you, as members of the board, have been named in lawsuits or will be in the future. So it's not a disqualifying effect. And so I just want to clear, this was not a topic of discussion at the screening committee. With regards to the process and how it moves from here, I'm going to leave that up to you. Our involvement in it, it remains to be seen. You know, our involvement, Community Paradigm's involvement, remains to be seen. You know, we've completed pretty much everything on our scope of services, but for the negotiation of a contract or the technical assistance on the negotiation of a contract. So, you know, I probably would be inclined at this point to simply bill you for the time that has been spent on this search, which would be less than the $6,000, but advise you to use whatever technical materials we've given you and move on from there, or bring on another consultant.
Thank you, Bernie. And reading over the lawsuit, I do think it's amazing that in the whole lawsuit, there's not one mention of the Board of Selectmen in here. But if, Bernie, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I find fault with the company, Paradigm, that never notified anybody on the committee that, of this particular incident. And I would think that would be one of the first things that would be mentioned. No, and as you say, maybe it's not something that would disqualify the candidate, but I fault the company for not being forthcoming and giving this information out to the members of our committee. And had I not gone and done the search, which I said before, I looked at both candidates, and because I had to vet them because I didn't feel that the company, the consultant, did their job properly because they never notified anybody. And this is something that, to me, raises a red flag for the company, raises a red flag for the individual, that should be maybe totally innocent, but time will tell. And
Yeah,
and,
Mr. Chairman,
but
if
I
you-
I do blame the company for not coming forward, and there's not, to my knowledge, you never notified anybody on the committee, the search committee, that, of this particular case.
I did have, well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we did have, I did have discussions with the chair after this was all brought forward. And I think members of the board have already stated tonight that, you know, and had stated in prior meetings that that they understand the way that these lawsuits work. And I apologize if you're not aware of the way that these work, but you know, these are generally occur where people are named and it goes with their positions. And it's just, you know, that's how lawsuits operate. As for the Board of Selectmen being discussed, no, the Board of Selectmen is not discussed. The form of government in the town of Dracut is the executive or administrative authority rests with the town manager. And so the Board of Selectmen is not involved in in this matter at all. That's outside of their scope within the town of Dracut's form of government. So that's municipal government 101 to understand how the form of government works.
And just to make a mention, when you discussed it with the chairman of the search committee, after I spoke to you about it and spoke to the chairman of the search committee, that's when he had contact with you. So prior to me addressing this information at the meeting, you never told anybody on the search committee about it, nor directed it to us, the Board of Selectmen.
It's not a disqualifying, to be named in a lawsuit is not a disqualifying thing. It's not a disqualifying factor.
Well,
I'm not going to hold someone, in jeopardy. Their position, their employment opportunities in jeopardy because they happen to be named in a lawsuit.
Well, if we kick this back to the committee, I agree with Dan that a whole new committee, and I've lost complete faith in Paradigm, the company, because it was never disclosed to anybody until I brought it up.
We were aware of it.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'm embarrassed by the behavior of my chairman and Selectman McDonald. I am embarrassed at the accusations being hurled at a company that assisted our search committee in good conscience and good faith, and I'm tired of this nonsense. I mean, we all know that we have actually hired people who had lawsuits against them, and they've worked here. We know all this. I'm not going to pretend like this isn't just targeted, mean-spirited, and underhanded, and it needs to stop, okay? We're not going to be able to hire anybody if this is how we treat people that come to work for us, that try to assist us. Mr. Lynch was very professional, very amenable to any questions, to taking phone calls from us, and now, all of a sudden, at the last hour, you're attacking him and telling him that his company didn't do a good enough job. And I find that, again, I'll use the word, disingenuous. Doing this tonight for a purpose to spread some lack of confidence in a company, Paradigm, that does a good job, to put a lack of confidence in a volunteer search committee that did a good job. You know, I can understand why people don't want to volunteer in Groveland right now. If this is the atmosphere that you come into in this board, I mean, I work with each and every one of you, and I have respect for each and every one of you, but not when we're speaking to people who have assisted us and helped us in this manner. It's just disrespectful, and I make a motion now that we retain the services of Paradigm. I think they've done an excellent job, and that we also retain our search committee if they're still willing, after they watch tonight's tape, to help us out. I would appreciate them hanging on there and not falling prey to this kind of attack at the last minute. So my motion is to allow the new application to go to the search committee with the same consultant. As he said, we have not spent the money that was allocated, so there's no additional funding needed.
Dan, you had a further
Would
comment?
someone second my motion?
There's
Thank
a
you.
second. Any discussion? Dan?
What Kathy said, not true. Okay, I care about this town. My style's different than some other people. I do practice law, and whereas some lawsuits, they slap everything against the wall and see what sticks. See what sticks. I am not the trier of fact in this case. To just brush it off, ignore it, okay, for a job opportunity, okay, to do that would be to disrespect the underlying allegations in this case, which is serious. They're employment related. If they were unrelated to employment, I may listen. I may give some deference to what I've heard. But the candidate in question is a Director of Human Resources. This case is a discrimination case. The plaintiff in the case was in the National Guard in the pleadings on active duty in Afghanistan. I will not discount his allegations. I will not disrespect a member of a veteran. And in light of what's happened in this country, I think it'd be disgraceful.
point of order. You're
It
off
would be
topic.
disgraceful.
Off
Dan, hold
topic
on.
of
No,
the
you
motion.
talked about disgrace and discredit
Off
and
topic.
disrespect.
Hold on, Kathy, state your
My
point of order.
motion is, my point of order is that he is off the topic. The motion on the floor is about sending the new application to the search committee and retaining Paradigm as our consultant.
I'm
That's the
responding
motion.
to what you said.
His comments seem to be relevant because it's discussed in one of them. Go ahead, Dan.
Responding to your comments, Kathy, which I
Then-
think are completely out of line,
My
okay?
comments had nothing to do with the national
Kathy,
policy.
Well, then why'd you bring them up if they're off point?
A little respect. You had somebody with the floor.
So, the plaintiff, in every case, okay, as a matter of our system of jurisprudence, has their right to their day in court, okay? And you know, this guy served our country in Afghanistan, and to just say that, you know what happens in lawsuits. No, I don't know what happens in lawsuits. You don't know that that's the case in this situation. It's irresponsible to even make that inference. So I object to those statements. I object to the judgment and the lack of judgment within the committee. Okay? Done with my discussions. We can vote on your motion to continue on down the same path.
Any further discussion?
Yes, just a clarification. So just so that people at home understand the basis of this whole lawsuit, since it seems to be of great interest, and I think it is important to know what it was about, that there was a firefighter who brought forward an article to town meeting. I don't recall the wording of it. It had to do with firefighting and active service in the military, and the article did not pass, but the firefighter then felt that he was being mistreated within the fire department, made a complaint. The complaint was forwarded to the town manager. He was put on paid administrative leave by the town manager and the fire chief, and it went to arbitration. He was found to be sound and able to serve and have done nothing wrong, and he was put back on duty. No money was involved since he'd been paid for the leave, but he had been treated poorly, so he filed a federal lawsuit for the damage to his reputation and everything else that went along with going through that process. That's what it's about, okay? To me, that's unfortunate, and I do feel for that firefighter and what he's been through. But I don't think that's what our discussion tonight is about. I think that when we come back to consider however many candidates we're going to consider, then again, you can bring it up as one of the reasons why you maybe think that candidate's not a good fit for our town. But right now, the motion is to consider the new application.
Okay, any further discussion on the
Mr. Chair.
motion?
Yes.
No, go ahead, Bill.
First of all, I concur with Ms. Castronellis's comments that I am rather disgusted and embarrassed by the comments. And Mr. Lynch, I want you to understand those views do not necessarily express, do not necessarily, I do not necessarily join in those opinions. I think you've been maligned and unfairly. I think one of the candidates here is being maligned unfairly. I think there are obvious ulterior motives to that malignment, and I feel terrible that you have to be brought into this and put in this position and disparaged in this way. And I feel sorry for all the people that really took a lot of time and energy, time away from their family, I imagine, to put this all together. It's really why people don't want to volunteer their time. And I know from experience, I've spent 44 years coaching Little League. I know a lot of people on the other side of the fence want to tell me exactly what to do and how to do it. But all they want to do is criticize. They never seem to have time to be on the other side of the fence with me and really help out. So my heart goes out to you volunteers of the search committee. I know how hard you worked, and it's unfortunate that you're being maligned and disgraced this way.
Could you elaborate on your reasons for the alternative motives that you mentioned, but you didn't elaborate on it?
No.
Doesn't surprise me. Dan, go ahead.
I have no ulterior motives. Anyone who knows me, most people, know 'em. I shoot straight. I didn't know either of these candidates until I saw them last week. Some people know what I do for a living. I'm a lawyer, but I'm also a CPA. And when you issue financial statements for a company, you footnote pending litigation. You don't say whether or not it's, well, actually, if you knew it was remote or non-remote, you could comment on that if you had the information. What I've disclosed here today is that I'm not the trier of fact. I make no statement about the veracity of the pleadings or the defenses. But I think a common person, I think it's common sense that something of this nature, I think the magnitude of the lawsuit is such, be it in federal court, I think the demand is $2 billion. We should have been made aware of that, okay? And I'm not trying to malign anybody. It is my opinion, and I'm disappointed that that didn't percolate up to this board for us to each make our own decision whether or not you want to weigh that information in your decision, Kathy or Bill or any of the other members here. But to take that away from me, I don't think you have a right to do that, okay? I'm elected, and I'm not sitting here to stick my chest out, but I wasn't elected to be a paperweight up here. So I'm going to ask the questions, and if you don't like the questions, it's not because I'm disparaging. I don't disparage anyone. I will critique your work product and the results. The fact is that this Board of Selectmen was not made aware of a federal district lawsuit with a demand for $2 million. Relevant or irrelevant for a human resource director in a job application for the town administrator, the first town administrator of this town. God forbid I ask that question or actually try to flip over a few rocks and get to the bottom of it. Excuse me for doing my job. But I'll continue to do my job until the people of Groveland take the seat away from me, which happened before, but I'm back. And I'm back because I was told I speak my mind and I ask questions. And that's what I'm here to do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else? None. There's a motion on the floor to send, excuse me, to send it back to the search committee. All in favor of sending it back to the search committee? 3 in favor, opposed, 2. 3 in favor, 2 opposed. Next order of business. Insurance renewal for VZ Park. Mike, I understand you have some information on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Dempsey for the Conservation Commission. So, as we've discussed a few times before, we've got to renew the liability and property insurance for VZ Park. I think we previously agreed to do this, and it's just really a matter of the terms of paying for it. So, as I said in the past, the commission is willing to have a VZ revolving fund pay up to $6,000 less the cost of the benefits for our new employee, who we have to pay half of her benefits from the VZ revolving fund since VZ is paying half her salary. So, did talk to the town account, and we don't have an exact figure, but the amount of benefits is going to be probably 50% of that is probably going to be $500 or less. So because she is not taking health insurance, we're in a good spot for a couple years, not having to pay for health insurance. So the town is going to save in that regard. So we'll be able to put most of that $6,000 that was set aside for VZ budget this year towards the property and liability insurance. However, I do want to say that I am unhappy with the cost of the property and liability of insurance being charged to VZ Park as one single town property. This goes back to an incident that occurred 7 years ago at the park, just about 7 years ago, that was related to ice dams. And after our town insurance
Point of
company,
order. Could we- it's a
State
little
your point of order.
There's other discussions going on in the room. If we could please hold up. I'm just trying to follow this. Continue, Mike.
okay, so.
I thought, Mike, I thought that it was, when you were going, rehashing history, that was the reason for the increase.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, I'm sorry, I'll cut it short, but anyway, the thing that I'm most unhappy about is that VZ Park is having to go find its own insurance source, and we about 4 years ago, we found the least expensive product, but of course, it goes up every year. So now we're up to over $17,000 a year for the insurance, unfortunately. So what I would like to do is when we do hire a town administrator to make this the top priority, to put our total insurance out for bid, the whole thing, so that we can incorporate the VZ insurance back into our town insurance, and we're not getting, messed up by an insurance company who just wants to not cover us.
Any questions for Mike?
Yeah.
Dan, go ahead.
Bottom line is, you can't get your own insurance. You just can't.
No, I know,
You've tried,
right.
failed.
Well, we can do it, but you see, the cost is ridiculous. So, I believe that since we've gone 7 years now, that whatever new insurance company who might want to take on the whole town would be able to amortize the cost of VZ in with all the other things that they insure.
So you'd be receptive to us doing an allocation. Let's just say we could quantify the bump in the premium went up X.
Yeah.
You'd pay a portion of X.
Yeah,
To be fair.
VZ will still pay whatever, but, obviously, we're paying $6,000, but the town is covering the rest. I think we can save the town money by going out and, putting our whole insurance package out to bid.
Get kind of an umbrella on the whole town.
Yeah, yes.
What would VC be willing to pay? You got kind of a
Well-
ballpark on what you'd be willing to pay?
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're paying roughly 6, and we can increase that every year.
So you'd be okay with 6 and an escalation clause?
Yeah,
Then I guess we'd have to shop it, right? We wouldn't be able to tell you yes or no without getting a price.
right, right.
All right, Mr. Chair. I mean,
Thank you.
does it
Anybody
hurt?
else?
Does it hurt to shop it out?
Yeah, Mike, I don't have quite the history you have, so maybe you can fill me in on the history on why this happened, why it was separated out. The ice dams caused a premium jump for the
Well-
whole town, and that's when you had to go separate, or?
Back in the end of 2014, we had a problem at VZ Park with ice dams, and it caused a large claim, so they had to cover all the repairs, the new fire alarm, because it's an old building, they had to
And
do a
insurance
lot of
companies
stuff.
don't like to lose money, so they
Right,
jacked up the
so
premiums.
A year later, the insurance company said, we're not going to cover VZ Park anymore. So we had to go find another insurance company, this current company, to cover us.
So the insurance company that the town has said you were uninsurable.
Right.
Oh. Okay. Thank you for giving the history, now I understand.
Sure.
Any other comments,
Yes.
Kathy?
Mike, I'm glad you've brought this up. I just know my personal home insurance experience, if you file like 2 claims in 1 year, even if they're not that big, Like, we had a little piece of fence get knocked down at Rocky Woods, and I think that was the year I lost a diamond earring. Those two claims kicked us out, and we got forced into a very expensive insurance policy, and that I had to go out on my own and figure out, we need to get off this. And I think that's what you're saying, the same thing. You're right. You shouldn't, this is not fair. We should have addressed this right away, but it's never too late. I agree with you wholeheartedly that what was done there was just, they just didn't like the claim coming in
Right.
that high.
Right, yeah,
So they decided to take our money for the other buildings and kick this to the side. Yeah, I agree with you. We should try and bid it out as a bundle.
Dan, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, I just, I mean, if it is a higher risk over there, I mean, wouldn't there be some argument to say we should isolate the risk and let you guys stand on your own 2 feet over there? Because if you have additional claims, well, maybe with the existing claims you had, I mean, when you fill out the new application, they're going to say, have you ever had any claims within the last period of time? Are you going to drag us all down? Are you going to be the paperweight? You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't think of this a minute ago, but I listened to it go around, and it's like, on the one hand, we could help you, but are you going to hurt us? It's just food for thought.
yeah, no, I don't believe so, because right now, that's where we're at. So we can put it out to bid for competitive analysis, but if we don't like the result,
Yeah.
we can keep what we've got.
Doesn't hurt to shop, does it?
Right.
So I'm okay for shopping, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we need a motion for the insurance renewal for BZ Park. We want to make that motion?
So is it,
Clarity, are we going to try to get a quote? I don't want to commit to insuring you.
Well, we have to do this, renewal is due October 1st, so,
You can always cancel and get a
Yes.
prorated refund. so I don't-
exactly.
Right? So I don't know that time is of the essence. We don't want to dilly-dally. I get it. But we got to get the quote. Maybe you renew that, and if we get a better deal, we cancel it, you get your money back.
Yeah, but I need to have it approved to.
So is the motion to allow you to renew your current contract?
Yes.
So I make the motion, we allow Mike Dempson to renew the current contract he
Motion, is
has
there a
with
second?
VC.
I'll second it.
In a second. Any further discussion?
No.
None. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Mike. Denise, I'm sorry, I don't see you on the agenda. Did you have something? Why don't we bring up items not anticipated at the meeting, and then we can, if nobody has any objections, and we can hear from Denise so she doesn't have to stick around. Any objections?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Denise Gilman, Council on Aging. I'm here because the Council on Aging bus has been through the bid process, and it requires 3 signatures from the board. And I just want to be here in case you had any questions for those signatures, that's all. It's sitting on the table and requires
okay.
3 signatures, and I just in case you had questions.
Anybody have any questions for Denise? Bill?
Did it come in, did the quote come in any higher than what we had previously
It came in
anticipated?
exactly the same, 59,985.
That's all?
Dan?
After all of our back and forth, did we get a trade-in value on the old one?
We got 3,500. Same as what they were offering before.
All right.
So a little
That's about all those
something,
specialty vehicles. that
Scrap
we-
metal.
something nobody else wanted.
Yeah, I just should pay to get rid of it.
So-
Okay, we
Yeah.
need a motion to approve.
Didn't change, right? I just want to
Didn't
make
change.
sure that I haven't read the final version, but it's the same as what we discussed
It's the
before.
same, it's just that we have gone through the bidding process. It's changed.
You
that-
follow
in
the
that
law
sense.
and the contract's the same.
Everything's there.
Latest
The
time, we just
paperwork's
followed
there,
the
we
proper
just need-
The
procurement.
delivery date.
The delivery date is a week from when we get a signature. That's why I
that's why.
wanted to sit here and wait.
All right?
Nothing further.
So I make a motion to approve the cost for the senior van. It's now been through the bidding process according to procurement law, and we've gotten trade-in value, so everything's in order.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I thought this was already approved at town meeting. and
All in
the
favor?
way-
Thanks for jumping through all the hoops.
It's
Unanimous.
approved at town meeting, but I think we have to approve signing the contract.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank
So,
you.
Do you need that?
Probably not.
We
You can
approved
take it
the-
with you now?
We approved the
I
appropriation,
would love to
right?
take it with me now.
We already did.
Jason, could you help
Could've
us
got
out
this far
there?
if we had.
Absolutely.
Thank you for waiting around.
No problem.
What color is it?
It's white.
Okay,
They're all white.
we're all right.
Moving back to regular order of business.
Black pen, mine purple.
Old business, treasurer search update. I think that was you and Kathy, Dan, you and Kathy on that.
Yeah, this one's,
Just give the chairman that.
here we go.
If you sign that top line, please.
I'm the chairman, and I'm a happy director.
Hopefully.
Hey, well, that's
It's
a
all
nice
right,
pen.
no,
Will be too.
you should see the kids
That's a
in the
nice pen.
hallway, they come down.
Yeah, is that yours?
Hanging off their ear.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Good night, thanks for.
Treasurer
waiting for us.
search committee, Dan, that was you and Kathy were working on that.
Yeah,
Who's going to take the lead on that?
so.
Kathy.
Kathy?
Yeah, so we did a second interview, and what, if it's the pleasure of the board to allow us to meet with this second candidate to discuss possible offer, then if we found that there was mutual agreement, we could bring the candidate and the offer back to the full board for discussion and vote. We've asked the same questions of both candidates, and we think we have one that would fill in the job and would eventually become fully certified. Both candidates are not certified at this time. You know, given our appropriation of only $75,000, to get out there and compete right now with the ads that are posted, we'd need 90 to 120,000. And I'm not saying that's what you have to pay, because not all towns are paying that. That's what we're competing with. That's posted right now. So we're trying to work within parameters of maybe an up-and-coming candidate that would grow with us, assuming we had a town administrator in charge to provide some guidance, and I think Dan can weigh in that we might continue some guidance from the treasurer consultant side as well. And Dan was more specific on that than I am, if you want to.
Yeah?
Well, I want to make the board aware that, you know, in the job market, we didn't have, in my opinion, turnkey plug and play. Okay? So we had two candidates, and they're both good. Kathy and I agreed on the same person is more favorable than the other. But whereas the person that we've tentatively decided on is not certified and would need some additional guidance, we would have to make sure we have some room in the budget to pay the consultant. Kathy and I spoke with her. Didn't get any finite figures on how much, you know. I need to zone in on how much, you know, hand-holding or training wheel, so to speak. But Kathy and I believe we have a good candidate to work with, kind of add water, so to speak, and fertilizer and grow that candidate into somebody that'll be rock solid. I look at, you know, work track record, attitude, disposition. Think she's outstanding in those regards. So I certainly would be willing, as a board of selectmen, to, you know, support her like the other board members do once we get to that juncture. But I want the board to be cognizant that we would need funds for the consultant. I don't know if that would be $10,000, $15,000. I mean, I want to try to get an opinion from the consultant. If I'm speaking out of turn, let me know, Kathy.
No, you're
But
fine.
we'd want something in writing as to kind of a timeline, you know, to-do list, a kind of a, you know, calendar of events and benchmarks to meet, so that we can gauge the person's development and make sure nothing slips through the cracks. But I don't want to mislead this board in any way that we don't have an experienced, tenured type of treasurer candidate, but we do have someone that I'm very comfortable giving a shot at the job and giving them the resources they need, whether it be additional courses to go to, candidates willing to learn, to study, to ask all the questions that need to be asked, and to also have the consultant available to oversee final product so that we don't have any slips through the crack.
Thank you. Kathy?
So based on that, what we would be asking the board to either through consensus or through a motion, perhaps a motion to approve for us to negotiate with the candidate and with the consultant, kind of a two-pronged approach, and come back to the board, hopefully with the candidate, with the consultant, and with a cost on each thing, on the salary and on the consultant cost. And we would propose at the fall town meeting to split off that consultant cost so it does stand alone, so it's very transparent that we're planning to have some support service there. But make no mistake that what Dan says, it's not a plug and play, but I think both Dan and I were impressed with this candidate. Impressed is maybe an understatement. I felt this candidate did an outstanding job at the interview, was far more knowledgeable given the time that this candidate has had treasurer responsibilities, and showed the initiative and true desire to want to pursue this career path and to throw a lot of effort and time into it. And that's kind of what swung me that way. Is the consultant also weighed in and said that this particular individual possessed exactly what you wanted for someone that you were going to bring along into that position. Do you think I said that right? I'm paraphrasing what the consultant said as far as when we met privately afterwards.
Yeah, she stands behind her,
Yeah.
and I have no reservations. With what I know, a cursory examination, I have zero reservations. It is the right person at this point in time with what we have available, and that's, if we had people crawling us all over us with 10 years experience and they've been there, done that, then I might think differently, but that's not the world I live in. So you know what, this is our best option, and I'm very, I'd be happy, and I'd stand behind my decision on that.
I want a motion to, further discussion if needed, motion to let Kathy and Dan proceed with the with the consultant and the candidate, talk a dollar figure, I guess. Is there a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to allow Kathy and Dan to continue on with their search for the town treasurer, as well as working on getting a cost of the assistance of the consultant that we're currently using.
Okay, the motion, is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Second. Any further discussion? Bill,
Yes.
you had something?
Yeah, the $15,000, Dan, you were talking about, is that for a consultant or recruiter? What's that fee for?
You gonna bring that up now?
Yeah, I need to fill them in on that.
I think it's Kathy's opinion and mine. Correct me if I'm wrong. And talking to Sarah, our consultant, and she would be willing to stick around to mentor, to review, to oversee on a limited basis. And I need to determine what the parameter is on that. I just threw out for illustrative purposes a number 15 grand. Obviously, if it was 50 grand, it would be a deal breaker. I don't know where that high and shallow water mark is, but let's just say my gut feeling. You talk about gut feeling. I have gut feelings too. Sometimes I'm wrong on them, but if she was available on a taper off situation, 3 or 4 hours a week, And then it became 4, became 3, became 2, became 1 over a period of 3 months.
Okay, so I maybe
So-
I may
so
have misunderstood.
we
This,
would-
this
we-
is for Sarah then?
For Sarah
Not an outside-
specifically, no, no, no.
Not an outside consultant you're
No,
looking to recruit?
no,
Okay, good, good, good,
we'd
good.
be
All right.
working with Sarah and determine,
How long?
what do we need?
Yep.
Yeah, how much hand-holding do you need? How long is it
Before
gonna
you take
take?
the training wheels off, so to speak.
Before you let 'em
And
solo.
I don't mean that to put anyone down. It's just, you know what, we all need training.
No, but sometimes there's a certain comfort level that you'd like to see a certain employee attain.
And you let 'em
before
loose.
you.
And I'm not to say that it couldn't be on a periodic basis. She circles back and,
Oh,
Once
you mean
once a month.
month
Yeah.
as a periodic review? Okay, I'm good.
but my
I'm good.
mindset is a phase out.
No, I'm fine. I understand now. I understand. I was confused by
Tape
the
it
two.
down and then, thanks, we don't need you. You did a great job.
When you said consultant, I thought you were talking another third party, but
This
it's
Sarah that I met with, I've only met her like, I don't know, 3 times.
Yep, I know who you're talking about now.
But she
So
thought it was
clear in my mind.
workable. If she didn't think it was workable, then I'd probably go in a different direction. So it's not entirely my opinion on this. It's,
All right, any further discussion? None. We have a motion on the floor. Anybody want an explanation on the motion? Are we all set on that? To allow Dan and Kathy to continue, meet with the consultant and the candidate to come to a conclusion.
Yep.
to make an offer.
Yeah,
Make an offer, yeah. All in favor?
an offer subject to. your
Unanimous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kathy, you want to bring this up? No, we can do that under
Yes,
this.
yes. So, also in the course of our discussions, Dan and I sat with Sarah Hunter, our treasurer consultant, and as you know, at the last meeting, we spoke about that we keep hearing different months that they're up to as far as reconciling, and then we don't get beyond that month. And then, to make a long story short, what Ms. Hunter kind of expressed to us is that, you know, when she's here, yes, she's working, but she's also providing some training and some answering questions. And she said that if she were to be given the opportunity to come in on a weekend and just plow through some of these reconciliations, that she could catch all of this up and close out our fiscal year a lot more quickly than what's going on right now. They've been moving forward, then they'll find something that then our accountant will understand. Then they go backwards to figure out what it is, you know, why did this happen? And so I had anticipated that I'd be able to come to this meeting with Dan, and Sarah was going to give us a proposal and a cost and everything. But just before the weekend, she looked at her weekends that are booking up, and Dan and I had expressed a desire to have the fiscal year closed by October 31. Since we're missing the September 30th state deadline, we really wanted to get a deadline out there. And she said, I have this weekend free. Is there any way that I can come in and do the work this weekend? And so before you see, I asked the chairman if he felt comfortable saying, okay. I felt that the board would be supportive if I had been able to bring it to you quickly before she did it, and I hope it's okay with you. But if you look, I had her detail the hours that she was here working. She was here from 8:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday. She says, at this point, variances have been identified through June, and the treasurer's office will work over the next few weeks with accounting to make any correcting entries. Once these entries are made and the cash book reviewed again, the treasurer's office will circle back one more time with accounting for our final cash numbers. We will then prepare for the state treasurer's year-end cash reporting as well as statement of indebtedness, and we will meet the October 31st deadline with these 2 reports. So this is after the fact. This amount of money that when she does bill to us will exceed the amount that we had set for the month because of this weekend. So I think we would need a vote of the board to allow that bill to be paid because will be above probably her contracted cost of $1,500. I'm just guessing. I don't have the bill in front of me. All I have is the detail in these letters. And I'd be glad to go back to her if, and anybody has additional concerns or questions. I asked her to give me an update on where they ended up. Hopefully this would be the only weekend that we have to do this on. This was a one-time hard push. The only other thing I have to throw in, I believe some of the staff was here with her. I don't know whether they're doing that on a volunteer basis or not. They may very well have, fingers crossed, but we will need to pay Sarah because I did ask the chairman to approve her to come in and put in this kind of work because she would not be free for several other weekends before October 31st.
Any questions for Kathy? Bill?
Yeah, much like in the past. What line item is this gonna hit? We're gonna be overspending on the line item that we had, so
Well, we have been paying her, I believe, out of the treasurer's salary, which is $75,000. We had capped it at $1,500 a month. Okay, so it'll push it a little above that. Right now, I capped at about $1,500 or $1,400. The amount that would be left prorated for the year would be what $75,000 would be for the year. So this does hit it down a little bit. It will. I'm anticipating that we're going to be able to negotiate still with the money that's remaining. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work that out. Off the top of my head, I didn't have a chance to look up what her hourly rate is. You don't remember it, do you?
who's?
Sarah's.
125 an hour, I believe.
Okay, so it's 125
Huh?
You're correct.
Got a good memory sometimes.
for 7 hours on Sunday and an amazing amount of hours on Saturday. 8:30 a.m. till 11 p.m. So 8:30 to 8:30 is 12, 13, 15 hours roughly. So 22 hours at 120. Want to calculate it?
What do you got?
I think it's 22 hours at 120 if I'm doing my math right in my head.
So
6 hours.
2,600,
How much?
$2,640.
Okay. So 26, so it goes over the 1,500 cap and would be in addition to any of the Wednesdays that she's been coming this month, which I think she has been coming Wednesdays.
Okay.
On a
And-
good note, it will allow us to break free that much sooner
Well,
of this.
yes and no, because you're
Yes and
intending
no.
to use her as a consultant going forward to kind of nurture this person that we're looking at hiring.
That's a good point, yes.
And that 15,000 that we expect is going to come from that same line item.
Although I think it's different because the purpose of Sarah up until now has been to perform those higher-end treasurer duties and to catch we've been behind on the books all year. We've been chasing this deadline all year. We've been chasing it since November, if I recall correctly, right? So we keep trying to catch up and we don't.
Yep, I get it, but we're going to put this against that line item. We're going to put $15,000 roughly against that same line item as a mentor to this person we're going to hire. My question now is there going to be enough money left in that line item to pay this person we're potentially going to hire?
Right, and maybe the 15,000 is a little bit high. We can discuss that.
I'd say it's 10. Do we have enough money left over in that line item to pay the person that we're potentially going to hire without having to dip into Peter's pocket to pay Paul?
It's going to be close.
Well, unless something else has been charged against the treasurer's line item, the only money that should have been charged would be the 1,500 for July, August, and September out of the 75,000, unless there's something else being charged to it.
So that's 4,500.
Yeah.
So we're down to 70.
Well, it's 1,500 weeks, right? No, a week, sorry, I'm misspeaking, right?
10 will be tight.
It's going to be tight, yeah.
10.
We're going to have to work on crunching these numbers.
I find myself
You're
playing
right.
you. I just want to make sure there's enough,
Well, we hope so.
water in the well to, make sure the plants are adequately watered at the end of the day. They don't run dry and they rot.
I don't want to be the one to bounce the checks in town, you know?
Listen to this.
Jason, you had a comment?
Yeah, since we're looking at an internal candidate for that, I imagine that would leave some dollars in that line to
Oh,
be utilized.
so smart. There we go. We just keep promoting everybody and we'll have more
Okay,
money.
How about a motion to approve
Okay,
after the fact?
yes.
Anybody want to make a motion?
The, I did want to get some clarification,
Sure.
because I think she
We'll
spelled
drop
it
a
out
line.
Completely in the cover page here,
We need a transfer.
Yes.
that she was gonna
Need a
need
transfer.
not to exceed 40 hours or more than $5,000.
I'm not stupid.
Correct, that was like her,
That was to get it caught up, and
Just
that
didn't know we
wasn't
could
just
say that.
for the weekend. That was gonna be over the next few weekends.
my understanding from my exchange with her when she said to me is her other weekends were getting booked up. I don't know for
Weekends.
sure.
But
We're still gonna have her weekly here, right, and she's 1,500 a week, so,
yeah, but I think this is gonna be a little over and above that. Up to 5,040 hours, just like she said here.
Mr. Chair, can I comment on the consultant?
Yes, as soon
so
as-
we had
as soon as he's
22
done.
used so far.
That's
So
good.
you're thinking there's another 18 hours in addition to the, I don't know about that at this point. I'd have to get clarification, to be honest. Right now, all that we spoke about was that if she could come in for this weekend, because she had this weekend free, and she did, she was here all day, that she could plow through a lot of this without interruption and get it caught up.
Dan, go ahead.
In terms of her needing to come in, she needs to do a marathon session on the weekends. And that was expressed to Kathy and I, from what she told me, I agree with her 100%. Otherwise, it's, the installment, plan is, dribs and drabs throughout, weeks. So, you know what, if you're going to pay over 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or if we're going to blow a deadline, then, you accelerate it, catalyst, and maybe on the back end, she doesn't need to come in and we can pick up the money on the back end. As far as Bill's point, on point, but I am hoping that once the consultant does the heavy lifting, so to speak, cleans up the sins of the past, the pending adjustments that you kind of leave and circle back and go back because you just have to keep up with the ongoing daily, weekly work. I'm hoping that her role becomes maintenance and not,
Functional.
a janitor for the books, and what was done, 3 months or 6 months, a year ago. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but if you have pending adjustments from December, I mean, it's, we're in September now, so it's sooner or later you roll your sleeves up, put your seat in the fanny, and you have to bang out the stuff, whether it's, putting another pot of coffee on stand till midnight or weekend. Now, I could do that running my own business. She needs a permission slip, so I think we're asking the permission slip so that she can come in, do a marathon session, get everything squared away, and then going forward, I'm hoping we don't need her to do that again because she's overseeing that it's done right the first time. That's my hope. That's all I can do, Bill.
Okay, can we put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a motion more based on what she had written here.
Go right ahead.
Just to
that's
make
fine.
sure that if she's not completed with everything that she needs to do and she needs those extra hours to bring it up to date, it will. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve for requested hours not to exceed 40 hours to complete the treasurer's cash book reconciliation for year 21 before October 31st. And it will not cost more than $5,000.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Then none. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
You should be able to do this stuff.
I
Waste
asked if I
management
could come in and
contract.
help. She told me no.
Kathy, I think you were working on that?
Right, it's not, I just have an update, and it's not really, I'm actually not doing the heavy lifting on it now. Our Director of Planning, Economic Development, and Conservation has generously picked this up to run with it, so she can make the calls that are needed. So she was able to coordinate between the town attorney and the Waste Zero person, Courtney, and now they've lowered the initial upfront buy down to, I think, around 6,000 or 7,000, so that it's not such a big outlay of cash out of our waste management contract. And as I understand it today, they are now going to consult with our consultant treasurer, Sarah, just to make sure that the wire transfer language in the contract matches the way our town would want it to be stated. And this is my limited understanding of this kind of information. But in that contract, it talks about once a month, the wire transfer would come into the town, giving us any of the funds collected at any of the retail establishments for the sale of the bags. So they're checking that language with the treasurer's office now. So the next meeting, we should have a contract that should be ready for signature.
Any questions for Kathy? None. We don't need a vote on that.
Nope.
Update on the water and sewer and highway union contract negotiations. Anything new on that? Jason, you and Kathy were working on that?
Yeah, nothing new. We still haven't heard back.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Police union contract review and signing. Do we have that over there just to sign? Is that back, you know?
Has Dan proofread it?
I did not see it over there.
I haven't.
Whoops,
I've
sorry.
had 2 emails and 1 or 2 phone calls, and I just haven't heard anything. The only thing I heard back was what pages was it on. I responded what page it was on, and I haven't heard anything back since. So I don't understand what the issue is.
Is Catherine still on? Maybe she has an update for us.
You led them to water.
Been here for a while.
I do not have anything back regarding that contract. I think Bill was the last person to have contact with the lawyer firm for the police union.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jennifer.
Nothing back yet. I know the last meeting you said that you finally got a response from her, but she was working on it. Wanted to know the pages that,
Yeah, and I emailed back the pages and followed up with a phone call, and I haven't had anything back. So
Okay.
I'm gonna follow up with her again tomorrow and find out
All right.
if she passed away. or-
Monday night hours discussion. This was put on to decide when we were going to open up town hall on Monday nights. Anybody got any comment on that? Oh, Dan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We all have opinions.
What's that?
We all have opinions. I like the old 6:30 schedule. Maybe we could do that once daylight saving starts and it's all pitch black outside.
You're talking about for the selectmen's meetings, moving?
Yeah, and then I thought town hall was open on the same night, so if you wanted to catch us, come in, sit and watch a meeting, public comment, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, you get your business done. The trade-off is you stay late one day, you leave early another. I mean, it seems like 6 of one, half dozen the other. I don't know if the town employees have a opinion hard and fast in either direction. I don't want to do anything to step on toes too hard, but it seems like the old way was the way.
Catherine, do you have any comments on that?
As far as the town being open on Monday nights,
Yes.
my only thought is that so many of the departments are still understaffed that it would be closing those offices on other days to accommodate for Monday evening hours.
Okay. That's for the, opening up the town offices on Monday nights like they used to. You're talking about when it used to be done that way?
Yeah, what did they do then? They closed early on Wednesday or Friday? I mean, wouldn't you rather cut out early on Friday and work late on Monday? I don't like Mondays, like the song said. I mean, it's always the busiest day of the week. It's kind of after the weekend. Everybody's like, roll your sleeves up, get stuff done. So I just think Monday's busy, Again, it's just an opinion. I'm not, I'm not indifferent on it, but I'm a little,
Well, I see where you're coming from.
But it might I'm
be
not
a-
passionate in either direction. If people want to leave it Monday to Friday and it's the same hours every day and it's static, then, Do I really care? No.
Do you want to put the Monday night hours off for the town offices for,
And let get some feedback on the town employees. I mean, you can't make everybody happy, you know?
well, Catherine, you and I can work on that, get some feedback.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yep. If we could like to put a letter or memo out from the Board of Selectmen, because we'd have to attach the bylaws. The bylaws dictate which offices have to be open in the hours. I believe it's in our bylaws. And it's not really attached to the meeting time of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen, sometimes when some boards like to meeting at 6, some boards like to meeting at 6:30. During the pandemic, we moved it to 4:30. Now we're at 5:30. So I think our meeting anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30 should be at, the pleasure of those of us that serve, because it accommodates our schedules. But I believe our bylaws tell us, unless we want to change them, maybe we don't want that in the bylaws anymore. But right now, I think it's in the bylaws that Monday nights at 6:30 to 8. The treasurer's office, the assessor's office, and the town clerk's office might be the only ones involved. I'm not entirely sure. You'd have to look at it.
You're right, but that was during the state of emergency or health emergency, whatever the governor put it under. It was all those bylaws were put by the wayside, including the open meeting law, meeting in person, and all that. So. I don't know, I don't remember when that state of emergency or health emergency is over. I think it,
No, it was lifted.
What's
So
that?
it was lifted. The emergency declaration was lifted. I want to say that it was lifted,
30th or July 31st?
yeah, June or July of
so when do you want
2020.
to put when do you want to open up the town hall?
Well, I feel that your idea to send out a message, let's look at the bylaws, see which offices would be impacted. I'm just saying things off the top of my head. I think we better look at it and reach out to those offices and see what kind of staffing they have available.
Well, with my understanding, it was building inspector,
Yeah.
town clerk,
Yeah,
treasurer's office, assessors, water department, but, and I'm not sure if there was any others. I don't, I'm not sure if there was any others, but we could send in some information out by Catherine to poll the feedback from the employees. Catherine, you can handle that, and then we'll get that back to the next meeting?
Will do.
thanks.
Okay.
That was easy.
That was a very positive will do.
Will do. Well, water and sewer is moving on buildings. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. Fall town meeting date and discussion. Was there any follow-up on that? We were going to need a town meeting sometime this fall. I'm not sure we're ready for to name a time yet. Go ahead,
I
Jason.
thought we had decided November 18th.
Or 8th, I thought. Not too close to Thanksgiving.
8th.
8th,
I could be mistaken.
tentatively spoke, yeah.
I had it here. Okay, so we're still looking at that?
And what's our posting requirement for special town meetings? Is that just 14 days?
What's that again?
What's the posting requirement for a special? Is it, the annual is one amount, and then specials are a different amount?
Yes, and it.
We should check that.
Depending on whether it's a special or, yeah, we'll get all that information.
Okay.
You want to revert back to approval of warrants?
Oh, yeah. Take a look.
Jason, you want to handle that?
Oh, wait, can we have a small recess so we could look at them? I mean, I already looked at them and signed them, but I know not everybody on the board had
Okay.
an opportunity.
Thank you. The selected meeting will stand in recess. Jason, thank you. We'll be back. Give us 10. Thank you for your patience. We're back. Jason, can you do the approval of the warrants?
Absolutely. I make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2213 in the amount of $183,345.77.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor? Unanimous.
I make a motion to approve bill warrant 2213 in the amount of $535,136.97, which breaks down to the town, $289,525.80. Water and sewer, $40,635.22. Payroll withholding, $29,250.69. Light bills, $158,502.90. Grants and revolving, $17,222.36.
Second.
Motion, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor? Unanimous. Next, we go back to approval of minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting September 13th, 2021. Kathy?
I have not had a chance to review those minutes, so I asked that we could table them until our next meeting.
Okay, there's a motion to table the minutes till the next meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. All in favor of tabling? Unanimous. Table till the next meeting. Selectmen's time. Jason, do you have anything?
Yes, I would like to thank whoever turned in Sean Gallagher's wallet to the police station. And I would like to thank the police station, Cindy over there, for giving me a call to let me know that it was there.
Okay. Kathy?
Just a couple of items real quick. First of all, I went down to Groveland Day, saw it was really well attended this year, really well laid out. Several parents stopped me and thanked me, and I said, don't thank me, it's this Groveland Day committee, and I really feel that we need to bring these, as many of them as we can get in here, and really thank them, because it was just wonderful to see, and it was very well laid out, train ride and wall climbing and food, and scouts were cooking. It was fantastic. So I would like to see if we can get them in on our next agenda if possible, or beyond that at the one after that, whenever they can find time to come see us. I had a second quick thing. The COVID vaccination rate has now increased to 65% for Groveland from the prior 64%. And at first I was a little disappointed. I thought, oh, it should have gone up faster. But then I looked at the other two towns, and we're tracking similar to them, 1% increase. So I encourage everybody to keep it going. It will help. And then related to that, reading the newspaper article, I noted that the state is no longer going to do contact tracing on that collaborative program as of October 31st. And I know that our Board of Health has very, very few hours. And so the town of Methuen was able to find some grants to pay for these contact tracers. So if it was all right with the board, I asked Rebecca if she could at least find out where they got it from and whether or not we could get a similar grant to just contract that out, depending on whether there's a surge around the holidays like last year. Remember how much contact tracing there was going on then? We don't have the budget for that. We just don't. Is that something okay? Everyone's all right with that? With the director of planning looking into that?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And the last thing, getting back to the issue of the budget and staying in balance, I would like to have a discussion on the stipends on our next agenda. I don't feel that we really have a legal way to do these payments. And I think we need to look at that. Town meeting appropriates the salary we vote an article at the end of that omnibus that sets the salary. I did get something from the Department of Revenue Legal that I'd like to share on our next agenda for everyone to read and have time to look into, citing the Mass General laws. I'm not entirely positive on this. I'm not saying I'm an authority on it. I'm just saying I think we need to take a look at it, a look at each and every stipend that's being paid out right now, whether or not we can legally do this. Because I'm questioning that at this point. And especially when you think about our budget and trying to really keep it in balance this year. So if it's all right, can I ask for that as an agenda item? And I'll provide the information from the Department of Revenue that I received. And if anybody else has other information, I welcome that into the packet as well.
Okay, we can get that on the agenda for the next meeting. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, speaking of stipends,
What?
Miss Warden's stipend, I think, lapses in a week.
Dan, can we bring that up under items not reasonably anticipated?
Sure. This is selectman time? What are we doing?
Selectmen time. You must have something.
I do have something. I've been dormant for the last 4 months, playing catch up all year. Apologize for that. I'll get my stride by maybe Christmas. But Bill mentioned, why don't I help volunteer? And I like to volunteer. It just depends on what it is. So if the treasurer's office needed help, I'd be willing to do it as long as it was cleared with the gods that be. State ethics, Department of Revenue. If it's a conflict, a waivable conflict. I get time after October 15th deadline. If the town wants me and it's legal, I'd ask the Board of Selectmen to give me a permission slip to ask if I could volunteer. And I'm not going to post any inside checks. I'm not going to grab anybody. I'm not that guy. And I'm pretty honest. I think I am. So far, so good. But if I could help the town doing that with my skills, I've only been a CPA since 1997, May 5th. Took the test a bunch of times, but we won't talk about that. But if the town can use me, to help out in that corner office, I'll entertain the task as long as it's permitted.
You want
If
to
it's
check?
not,
Do you want us to check with the town?
we could ask
Town
town
attorney?
council, quick, 5 minutes or less on his part. I don't want to run up anyone's bill, especially a legal bill. But if he says, no, you can't do it, it's a black and white issue, then fine. It's a dead on arrival. If he says he wouldn't advise it, it's traps for the weary, then I can,
Okay, we'll drop something and get it out.
I can make some phone calls to the right people. And if people want me, if you want me to, get involved, I don't know. Maybe they don't even want me in there. They don't like me or something. I don't know. But I could ask. Doesn't hurt to ask, does it?
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have anything?
Same here. If it's simple reconciliations, I can do them in my sleep. So I'd be also willing to help out in that office if legally possible on some nights or weekends to help them catch up. I too was at Groveland Day. If you missed it, you missed a great time. The weather was absolutely spectacular, and the amount of events they had was at least double what they had 2 years ago. They didn't have it last year because of COVID. But I would like to thank the committee members personally and publicly. Leah Bates, Lisa Chandler, Beth Greenhagen, Jill Krisiak, Mike Porter, Liz Zimmerman, and my bride, Jean O'Neill, as well as the volunteers. And I know I'm going to butcher these, so please forgive me. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, so I'm good with those, but some of these, no. Tiffany Kolodj, oh, God, I'm just going to butcher this, I'm sorry. And Kenny Kolodji, oh, my God. Diane Slokowski, Kathy Valerio, Ronan Culbert, Max Forget, Tana Getchell, Michael Inger, Will Hankins, Ava Greenbaum, Brianna Connolly, Cameron Hagerty, Ella Agox, Caroline Baldini, Nina Gordon, Jalitz Guzman, Mater, Maddie Calkins, Emily Gleason, Michaela Snyder, Chloe Hurd, Charlotte Smith, and Julia Connolly. The volunteers, I believe, were all high school students that came down to help with Groveland Day to earn some community service hours, and we appreciate the help. And one last thing. Anybody who knows me and knows me well knows I hate to lose. And when I look at the numbers, I see West Newbury is 77% vaccinated. Merrimack is 68% vaccinated. And bringing up the rear is Groveland, 65% vaccinated. Now, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of comments. I've heard a lot of things said about people in Groveland. But one thing I will never agree with is that we're losers. We're not losers. We're winners here in Groveland. So come on, folks. Let's beat these other two towns to the dust. Okay? We're better than they are. We know it already. So let's prove it with these numbers. Let's pass these guys like they were standing still and prove once and for all who is the best community in Pentucket, hands down. It's Groveland. Come on, help me out. Don't hesitate. Vaccinate.
Okay. Beth, did you have something? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, was that?
No, I just came back to collect the papers, locked in my office,
Oh.
locked the door out.
All right. Well, under Selectmen's time, I don't have anything. Back to items not unreasonably anticipated. Dan, you had something? The stipend?
Miss Warden's stipend, I think it lapses in between. I believe Miss Warden's stipend lapses between now and next meeting. Jason and I were on a subcommittee to address the issue of compensation. We haven't drawn a conclusion. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think it was your position, wait for the TA to be hired. Now that we know more than we knew last time, it appears that we'll continue with the search for a TA, at least give one more candidate a shot. So with that, I don't know that that's going to be sooner than later. So I think we should extend that stipend till the next meeting at least, and then Jason and I and Miss Warden could get together and have another powwow on it. I think we should bring it to a head in terms of deciding what's reasonable compensation. I do agree with Kathy and her assessment that, correct me if I'm wrong, as always, but I think you and I see it, that the stipends are kind of a Band-Aid, and it's kind of a gray area. I don't know that we're blatantly violating any laws, or I wouldn't do it. But, when you have a budget, whether it be $20 million or higher or lower, I mean, there are parameters within the law in terms of discretion. There's an abuse of discretion. Some things are obvious, when you see them, and others are just kind of like it's de minimis. Not necessarily trivial, like I don't care. I do care about things. But it's not, when you have an employee, stipends are not a permanent way of compensating them. I agree if that's what you're telling us, Kathy. I agree with that premise. But we're in a dilemma, a pandemic. Can't blame everything on the pandemic. I mean, we've kind of got it under control, even though it's not up to 100% on curtailment. But efficacy, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a doctor. But, I think we got, I want to kick the can on it for one more meeting. I think Jason and I and Ms. Warden ought to get together and just come up with something to bring to the board, and we vote on it, thumbs up or thumbs down. We got to bring it to a head. I believe in closure, and don't always like the results. I'm on the losing end of a lot of things, and but I think there's a higher ground on our comp. I think it ought to be discussed further. It shouldn't be 19. That's my opinion. I don't speak for anyone else. But the stipend's not the permanent solution. So the longer we go, and now that I know we're going to have that committee extension, I don't know that we should continue a stipend for, let's just, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. I mean, it's just, let's decide on a compensation that's reasonable, and the board gives a A-OK on or a thumbs down. So that's my 2 cents on that. So my motion is to extend until the next meeting so that we can address that issue more clearly.
You want to put that in the form of a motion?
I make a motion to extend Ms. Warden's existing stipend until our next meeting so that we can discuss the matter and bring it to a resolution on it. Reasonable compensation for the tasks that she performs, which one she shouldn't perform, and what that compensation should or should not be.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Bill, go ahead.
Back to my question from 2 weeks ago. I'm fine with paying people. I just need some sort of justification to do it. So I understand we're paying her an hourly rate. I understand we pay her for all the hours she works. So if anyone could explain to me the justification for an additional $300 a week in a stipend, I would appreciate it, because I can't vote for something I can't justify.
Yeah?
Well, it's about, like I said, we all have opinions. So if your opinion is that she's paid adequately, then, that's your position. But from what I know and the list she provided, and I'll take it out and bring it to the next meeting so I'm more prepared, and provide you with the information. And she'll be here, hopefully. There were 2 columns on I think it was 4 pages, front and back, in total. List of what she was hired for and list of what she's currently doing. So if the responsibilities increase, typically the rate of pay increases. Not always. But it seems to me that she's doing more than she was hired to do. Now, if you say, no, she's not, and, it's static, then, we're opposites on that. I'm not going to, I don't want it to keep going on meeting and meeting. It's like the 4th go-around on this. I want to bring it to an end, We got 5 members on here. We probably got 5 opinions. So I think we owe it to her. We owe it to ourselves. Just end it. So extend for 2 more weeks. If you can't justify it, I think it's because you disagree with me that she's adequately compensated at that rate of pay and the tasks that she was assigned to and what she performed. So I can't persuade you on that any more than what we've discussed.
And I'll expand on that, the stipends for a lot of the employees were put in on duties that they took on that when we lost the finance director. And I don't remember it having anything to do with hourly compensation. It was duties that were above and beyond their pay grade, and items that they normally wouldn't be involved in. And you certainly done a better than adequate job, and I think we'd be lost if we didn't have her assistance on some of the items that would normally be fall upon the finance director, the same as some of the other stipends that we approved of that went to people that had additional jobs that they took on, again, when we lost the finance director. I think it's certainly justified, and hopefully within 2 weeks, Dan and Jason can get it straightened out. But when it comes up for vote, I'll support the motion. Are there any other comments? Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I just stand by my previous comments that ultimately to leave it to the town administrator, because he's gonna understand what the position is gonna need
Or
for
she.
him, the town. Yeah, he or she. And determine what that rate of pay is gonna be, as well as whether or not Catherine's qualified to do the job.
Okay, any other comments? Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, as I said, I feel that, we started out the stipend with good intentions to try and Band-Aid when we were unable to hire an interim financial director. And then, the year rolled over, and now the stipends have expanded. Originally it was just the accountant, the treasurer, now it's the council on aging, the accountant, the treasurer, and the administrative coordinator. And I think, we're starting to see the problem here, that it's a slippery slope. It's not really a cost basis. I think when we interviewed both James and Christine, and I looked through their resumes and references, that's when it really opened my eyes up to the fact that, the people with that kind of ability and that kind of education are capable of the TA duties, and people without that cannot be doing those TA duties. I couldn't do that. I don't have that training, that master's in public administration and experience. I wouldn't even pretend that I could do that responsibility. So I feel that we should treat them all at once, going to the, if I understood you right, Dan, the Band-Aid, prepare to take the Band-Aid off at the next meeting. Prepare to maybe notify the staff now that this is coming. And if you want to argue for any wage adjustments, we have a fall town meeting where it can be properly debated and reviewed by the finance board. But at this time, I am thinking that we're on a slippery slope, and we need to just most likely just stop them all at once, to be fair, and then any employee that feels that their salary or their hours or something else is not correct. I'm not opening up the floodgates because we have a barely balanced budget, but if there's something extraordinary that needs to be looked at right away, I would invite them to come to see us. That's it. So if you want to wait till next meeting to do it properly, I'm in favor of that, but I won't pretend that I'm in favor of trying to determine anything right now. I think we need to stop doing this and pay the salaries that town meeting voted.
Dan, you had a comment?
Yeah, my motion is just to extend to the meeting, because we haven't come up with a final resolution as a board. I don't think we have. And again, if it's, 4-1, that salary stands, we all need to be cognizant that there's an employee on the other side of the,
Yep.
The conclusion. So if we want to retain people, we got to pay them adequately. So, anybody listens to me, I don't think it's all lip service. I am pretty conservative. I can be tight with a buck, but I'm also a value-oriented guy, I think. And you get what you pay for. Sometimes you get ripped off, sometimes you don't. But generally speaking, you get what you pay for. I've had employees in my business over the last 20-something years. And if you don't pay people properly, they go someplace else where they're appreciated. So anyone that feels like they're inadequately compensated, I don't want to split hairs over, you should get a $10 raise or anything. I don't think anyone's going to be petty. But, if you're grossly inadequately underpaid and there's no light at the end of the tunnel in terms of your work load and responsibility, it's not just like a one-off. You had to, bust butt 1 week or 2 weeks. But I don't think anybody would whine about doing that, in light of what happened, and it's still happening to some degree with the pandemic. I mean, how many people lost their jobs? How many clients do I have their businesses, restaurants? I talked to one today, he's still closed. So, we all suffer. We can all sacrifice a little bit. But if you feel like you're on the short end of the stick, speak up. Procedurally, I don't know. We don't have an HR director in-house, but I don't know if that would circulate straight to the chairman. But, it's kind of speak now, and then we'll have to revisit. I mean, if we have something that's grossly inadequate, then, You know, we might have to stiff up a lip it, and it might have to be part of the agenda on this special town meeting. You know, but we don't know if we don't hear. I mean, it's deaf ears. I don't know if anyone has a grievance in town. I haven't heard anything. But, I mean, we've been talking about this particular issue on compensation for 4 meetings. I just want to come up with a salary and wage figure, and then we live with it. That's it. But if we go another month and 3 months and 8 months, and we go all the way to June 30th of the fiscal year and everything's a stipend, yeah, it doesn't kind of pass my smell test. It's not the way to run a railroad.
Yeah.
You know, compensate people. Somebody wants their comp adjusted, drop the stipends, come in and talk salaries. Enough said.
Any further discussion?
Well, just to say, so we're
You had
going.
something, Kathy?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, make sure I'm understanding. I understand Dan's point. And Jason, your point, though, was a little more for the town administrator to decide, but you understand we have a town meeting, I mean, we have a voted salary, and we have a town meeting coming up. So if we agree at the next meeting to remove all stipends, then you would need to, we would have to somehow operate as an HR area and figure out what we're going to do. If you, at least from my perspective, so the town meeting knows what they're paying people, you know. That's all.
I'm not sure that this board could agree on the job that's required to be done, especially in the absence of the town administrator
Okay.
or the finance director. And so that's why I feel strongly that once the town administrator is here, he can or she can make that decision based on their experience, based on who's here at the town, and the level of qualifications that the people have. Because I think that's important information that we need to be able to make that decision. And we just don't have it, because we're not here.
I agree with you, but I'm struggling with what we're doing right now is certainly not cost-based. You know, one person's getting 300 a week, another person gets 100 a week, another person is, what, 250 a week? I mean, pick a number. I feel like it's a little bit of a dartboard effect, and I can't support it at this point. I can't explain to people because we never cost-based it. So under your proposal, I'm just trying to understand what you would, I mean, feel free to, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. If you want to wait till our next meeting to fully develop your thought, that's fine.
Jason, before you, Dan had a,
Well, I was going to ask Jason a question. I'm not clear on your position. So I have a motion to extend just the next meeting. I mean, it's, you know, hop, skip, and a jump. If you don't agree with the motion, then her stipend will lapse. Do you want it to lapse, or is it your position? What I'm unclear on is do you want all stipends to stay status quo until the TA comes in and reviews everything? Or are you going to let the stipends one by one lapse as they lapse? It's a timing difference.
Yeah, I don't know that I've made up my mind on that. I mean, most of this conversation, especially in the last 4 meetings, has been pretty much centered around the $300 stipend that we pay for
Correct.
the
Right.
administrative coordinator. So in those 4 meetings, I know I just recently repulled all the work that I did in April to justify those numbers. So the only thing I haven't done is gone and meet with the town administrators of the towns. So I'll be doing that within the next 2 weeks to justify the amount of money that position has, so I can bring it to the meeting, and also to get an understanding of what the job actually entails. Because, like I said, I don't think us as a board really understands what that job entails. So I know that some towns, Wenham, Hamilton, they have 2, not just 1. So why? Why do they have it? Well, I have no idea. That's why I'm going to go to the towns, I'm going to speak with the town administrators and find out, and then I'll bring that information back to the board.
Well, what do we do in the interim?
You made a
Maintain,
motion?
yeah.
okay, there's a motion on the floor.
I think he's agreeing to
to
maintain
extend
to the next meeting.
Catherine's,
Well, is next meeting time enough? It doesn't sound like
All
based
right.
on what you're saying.
Okay, well, there's a motion on the floor and a second to extend the administrative coordinator's stipend till the next meeting, and Jason and Dan will sit down with her within that time and come up with an agreement. Is there any further discussion on that? None. All in favor of extending it for the next meeting? Opposed? Four in favor, one opposed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like all the stipends to be on, not just, I don't want to just talk about the one.
Okay, next is correspondence. We did receive a letter from the Historical Society. They were, the old building on Washington Street, they're just sending us a note that it is a historic building, and so that should take care of that. I know we were looking for that. We got verbal, now we got written. The next regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting will be Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Wow, we're almost into October. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:01
One
PM.
motion. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Dan, thank you. All in favor of adjournment?
Sorry, I was reading something.
Unanimous. What?
Oh, I wanted to comment on something. I just saw it. It just cracked me up.
Oh, thank you, Jason, for showing up.
Motion adjourned, I was like waiting for that.
Yeah?
Didn't see you say motion adjourned.
Who withdrew?
Never mind.
I'll watch.
Not because of me.